through a lot of the history. I think we're all familiar with the roads issues we've had throughout the city, and unfortunately throughout the county and throughout the United States. I'm sure we all have family and friends that can tell us about the road conditions. Obviously, Michigan is particularly hard hit with what we're looking at. It's a very frustrating situation because we all travel these roads and want the roads to look nice and reflect well on the community. With that being said, this is the 12th year Mayor Lawrence has had roundtables, and this is a topic that we kept hearing over and over about from residents and businesses, and what are we going to do about the roads? And I just thought it was prudent to have a roundtable session to discuss the roads. So, without much further in the way of background, I'll introduce the members of the city staff that have joined us tonight to share their input and answer any questions you might have. I'm just going to work my way down the table. Lee Schultz from the engineering department. If you guys could just stand up and raise your hand real quick, I'd appreciate it. Justin Beck with their Public Works Department. Mr. Larry Searles, also with their Public Works Department. And our City Administrator, Mr. Fred Zorn, who just momentarily will give a little bit of background and let you know what we've got planned and things that we hope to do. We've also got some other officials here from the city that I'll recognize. I'd like to just ask them to stand up and wave their hand quickly. I know Fire Chief Keith Rowley is here. Thanks for coming out, Chief. Councilman Myron Frazier. I thought I saw Councilwoman Joan Seymour somewhere out there. So, and I want to thank again those of you that have come out tonight with the weather being so iffy. You know, it's hard to kind of plan ahead and see if we can get out here. Recognize a lot of faces and the fact that you're so active in the community, and not only within your own neighborhood associations, but with the city at large. So, with that, the evening does belong to you all to ask questions. So, at this point, I'll ask Mr. Zorn to kind of step up and give us a little background of what we've seen, what we're hoping to do, and let you know how serious it is not only for our elected officials, but for residents like myself and everybody who lives here, that we have the best quality roads and the best possible ways to transport ourselves as we can. Right?
Thank you, Marty. I was in Mackinac last weekend at the Governor's Detroit Chamber's Public Policy Conference. It was clear at that conference, roads in the state of Michigan were the #1 issue. Just by a show of hands, how many of you have either been personally impacted or know someone who's been impacted by a pothole? Yeah. Pretty much, all of us have felt the pain of Michigan's roads. It's clear for the last 3 years the governor has asked in the state address for an additional $1.5 billion. To date, he's gotten very little. We appear to be a little bit closer. And road maintenance, like our own homes, is a real consistent thing. If you're not making investment as you go, the matters continue to get worse. If your roof is leaking and you let it go, it gets worse. If you let it go 2-3 years, it gets beyond control. The city of Southfield has 244 miles of city-owned streets. We are a first-ring suburban community. Many of our streets are 40 to 60 years old. They're starting to show their age. Since 2008, the city of Southfield has done what's called a PACER rating, which is a very comprehensive rating of all of our roads. We did that in 2008, 2010, 2012, and 2014. All of our 244 miles of roads, 136 miles are asphalt, 106 miles are concrete, 2 miles are gravel. The rating on our roads, the conditional rating, 66 miles of our roads are rated as poor, 122 miles are fair, and 56 are rated as good to very good. The city is actually wrestling with an issue. In order to get our roads in a good condition over an 8 to 10 year period, we would have to invest anywhere from $7 to $9 million a year annually into our roads. Thought right now I'd do a little bit of road quiz. And I'm going to throw out 12-mile, 10-mile Greenfield Road. They are under the jurisdiction, by show of hands, the city of Southfield or Oakland Road? County Road. They're county roads. Telegraph Road is MDOT, Southfield Freeway, up to the freeway is MDOT. Southfield Road up from about 9.5 mile to 13 mile is the Oakland County road jurisdiction. I bring that up because as we travel the roads in Southfield or anywhere in the state, we know we just want good roads. Cars that don't rip up your rims, damage your tires, cause that inflate signal on your car to go out. But I think it's important that people recognize that there are jurisdictions of roads, who owns roads, and who's responsible for paying for those roads. The cost of 1 lane, 1 mile concrete road is now about $1.1 million. Evergreen Road from 10 to 11 mile, just the construction of the road itself with the 2 proposed roundabouts is about a $6 million project. There are other items being added that'll take that off. We're here to answer questions about roads. The city currently levies 1 mil for local roads. Prior to the Great Recession in 2008, that millage used to generate about $3.3 million per year. The city's tax base has declined 40%, so that 1 mil today in the budget that's being prepared for next year's city council only generates $2.25 million. Lee Schultz, our acting city engineer, and I attend on a quarterly basis federal aid committees at the county level. Throughout Oakland County, all of the cities and villages are competing for about $17 million a year for road projects. We call the reconstruction jobs 4 Rs, the resurfacing jobs 3R jobs. Lee will talk to you about what jobs are planned for Southfield. Those jobs, that is a highly competitive process with all of the communities and every road being scored, and then the scores are reviewed in a peer review sense by other engineers and a value is put on those scores. So about $17 million countywide. I think the last few years Southfield has done very good in that process. It's somewhat of a challenge. We've done very good because of the poor condition of our roads. We compete against other cities, Ferndale, Berkeley. Some of them are levying as much as 4.5 mils per road. Royal Oak, I'm told, is currently leveling around 2 mils and plans on asking for another 2.5 mils. So we're doing some research to find out what our competition's doing, and we've just started that. This is a large issue. I want to go back. If the governor were to get the full $1.5 billion, Southfield would get $4.5 million. Some of you may recall the $100 million that we got for road funding. The local units of government get 22% of that. Of that $100 million, Southfield got $312,000. That was for additional salt and snow plowing. I just want to comment about this year's winter. For the last 5 years, the city has ordered only 300 tons of cold patch. This year, Justin, we went over 800 tons. We put the cold patch in the potholes. It's filled. Cars compress it. Every time there's an extreme temperature change, it pops out. Not only do we have to put the cold patch in, we have to sweep it up to keep it out of our storm system. And after we sweep it up, we have to dispose of it in the appropriate landfill, as it is considered a hazardous material. So there's a lot of items at play. I think we recognize that this is a serious issue. I'll ask all of you as homeowners to consider one thing. If a private developer was building your home today, they would use a budget of $600 per linear foot of frontage for the value of your infrastructure, your street, your stormwater system, your water's delivery system. So if you've got an 80-foot lot at $600, you've got $48,000 worth of infrastructure. If your street is 40 years old, you have fully depreciated the value of that infrastructure. And this is something that we're wrestling with in this country, because after World War II, we built this fantastic interstate system. We financed the growth of our suburban communities with innovative mortgage products and that after World War II. We're now seeing that investment turn its age, and it's time to develop a strategy. The problem is not unique to Southfield. So, in the next 3 to 4 months, and I can tell you, council spent about 8 hours on this topic in the last 6 weeks of what it is we need to do. So at this point, I'm going to ask Lee Schultz to come up, talk about the projects that are planned, and maybe Gary can then come up and talk about issues with the Oakland County Road Commission.
Before Lee speaks, I just want to recognize a couple more elected officials I saw sneaking. I apologize, I saw Nancy Crowell's come in earlier and didn't recognize her at the beginning. She's great, and she's one of our Oakland County Commissioners representing Southfield, and also Janet Jackson, who just walked in, also represents Southfield as well. So they're here. So you've got quite a few ears here, along with the local elected officials and at the county level, to sort of hear what questions you might have, as well as get a good flavor of what's going on. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lee.
Good evening, everybody. So we've got quite a bit of projects that are coming up this year, and then in subsequent years we've got federal funding secured for a handful of other projects. So the one out here on Evergreen with our 2 roundabouts is getting the most press because it's just going to be a big project and a really big investment in Southfield's first roundabout. We are also currently under construction on Evergreen from 8 to 9 Mile. This is also a total reconstruction and a widening to 3 lanes. And we will also have 11 Mile from Inkster Road, about 2,300 feet to the east from Inkster Road. That was like this last piece of 11 Mile over there that wasn't done as part of that interchange project. So that'll be going under construction. It should be in August of this year. And the Road Commission, this is Road Commission Road is Greenfield Road between 8 and 9 Mile, that southbound. Southfield worked very hard and with the Road Commission to get some funding. Funding opportunity came up, and we were able to contribute some money and help get that pushed to the top of the list. So that's going to be happening again this construction season starting in July. So that southbound Greenfield from just north of 9 Mile all the way down to 8 Mile. Arguably, probably one of the worst roads in Southfield right there. We do have some roads that are going to be repaired on some local streets in our Section 31, which is just east of Inkster and north of 8 Mile. This was basically a water main project was the primary focus, but because of all the roads are in very poor condition, and we will be running so many heavy trucks across the roads that those asphalt roads are going to be pulverized and capped with a couple inches of asphalt. So that'll be a great improvement. Our guys in our Public Works Department don't have to spend so many hours and hours out there in the wintertime taking care of water main breaks, and then we'll get a nice new road surface. This is something that we're really trying to look at with our water needs throughout the community, as to try and leverage water funds with road funds so that we can replace water mains where we have a lot of issues with breaks, and at the same time make the needed road repairs. The other major roads that we have scheduled in 2015, 9 Mile Road is going to be repaved from Beach to Telegraph. That's mostly a 2-lane road right now with shoulders. That'll be widened to 3 lanes. We'll still have shoulders to retain some of the character of that neighborhood that they have. It'll be a much safer road that way. When you've got that, when we say 3 lanes, that means it has that continuous center left turn lane, so vehicles can safely make their left turn. We'll also be taking care of the northbound Northwestern Service Drive from 8 Mile to 9 Mile. This is over by Northland Mall, also a very, very rough-shaped road. We'll be doing what we call a road diet on this section of road. So that service drive northbound is currently 3 lanes. We're going to be taking that down to 2 lanes, which is all that's needed for the amount of traffic that we receive there. And then in 2016, we'll be taking care of its resurfacing project, so that would fall into the category of 3R, Evergreen Road from 12 Mile to 13 Mile. that cross-section will stay the same, 2-lane road. It will just get a new surface cap on the top. We also have, in 2017, we have the southbound Northwestern Service Drive from Berg Road all the way down to 10 miles. This is a big, long stretch. Our service drives, we have a really tough time scoring well when we come to the federal aid committee. They are eligible for the federal aid, but because the traffic counts aren't as high as our regular thoroughfares, it's challenging for us to obtain funding. So the way that we were successful this time, it was basically just an economy of scale. We made it a very large project, and that helped our costs come down overall.
Can you repeat the location?
For that last one?
Yeah.
And I hope I didn't say northbound, it's southbound. I'm sorry.
Southbound
Northwestern Service Drive from Berg all the way down to 10 Mile Road.
Thank you.
And that's everything that we currently have funding secured for. And I guess at this point, turn it back over to Marty, and will you be fielding questions?
Thanks, Lee. Does everybody feel like they're learning this? No, I didn't. I work with all these guys all the time, so I thought it was helpful. So with that, again, the evening belongs to you all. So what I'll do, and I'll ask for everybody's patience, if you just raise your hand, I will come over and recognize you and direct the questions to our staff that have joined us. And would ask that, again, just in the interest of time, we'll try to wrap up around 8 o'clock, that if you have a question, I'll come back. If you have multiple questions, we'll try to get back to you, but certainly try and get everyone that has an opportunity to ask a question, get it answered. So with that, yes, ma'am. Okay, I'll ask you to use the microphone too, so we can pick that up.
I need to say a few things before I get to my question is the road. The city of Southfield has captured Lear's taxes.
Okay, I'm going to have to stop you there. No. Stick to the road, that's fine. Again, just one quick question. It is on road topic, so.
Just stick to the road. Okay, so let me rephrase the question, and that might be a little bit too much for you.
Go ahead.
I want to know what the city is going to do creatively to generate money to repair the roads, as opposed to imposing on the people by potentially asking for another millage, 2.5 or 3.5, or a bond. And I'm going to say to the people to vote no on both.
Okay. Fair enough. Anybody like to chime in on that question? Sure.
Relative to the city asking the taxpayers for a millage increase, there's a dialogue going on about that. The fact of the matter is the money needs to come from someplace. Infrastructure dollars in most communities our age have a larger millage. And if you want to stay an economically viable, competitive community, it's an investment that needs to be made. Our taxpayers have recognized that the investment needed to be made in our schools for its infrastructures. Our taxpayers have recognized in May of 2011, in response to having lost 40% of our tax base, that we needed to make an investment to keep the high level of quality services that our residents have come to expect and deserve. The same question must be wrestled with for our infrastructure. I also just want to comment on this brownfield question pertaining to Lear. Yes, part of the taxes paid by Lear Corporation are captured by Lear pursuant to state statute, which facilitated environmental cleanup in exchange for keeping a Fortune 100 company in this community. Brownfield tools are used throughout this community. Since we made that investment going back, the taxpayers have seen Lear Corporation buy another building on Telegraph, the old Sims manufacturing facility, and locate jobs that, these are people, some live in Southfield, some live in southeastern Michigan, and help keep our local economy going. The auto industry, and the auto industry as a cluster, is incredibly viable to Southfield and its economy. We have 27 million square feet of office space, and taking care and maintaining that economy within southeastern Michigan, and in particular Southfield, is very important. We do have a leadership role in this region as a major employment center. Another 100,000 people come to work. I just want to comment on that 100,000. people coming to work. Because in our conversations with the state, we have had conversations with, is there any way these formulas can be changed to recognize that we are a major employment center and that another 100,000 people come to work here every day, drive and traverse our roads. They don't drive on the local, on George Washington or New Jersey Street or Virginia. They're driving on our major streets. That's why those streets are eligible for federal aid and our local residential streets aren't. We're also being very creative. Last Tuesday morning, we spent the morning, had a representative from the U.S. Economic Development Administration going on trying to secure funds for roads that aren't eligible for federal aid, in particular the Providence area, the downtown development area, which is the oldest part of the city, and trying to get those funds. There we have a census profile that is eligible for a bucket of money. Relative to creative financing brought in the money to cover the Pernick train last year. This week alone, the mayor, Shelley Freeman, Al DeSevis, and myself were involved with a conversation with the director of MDOT. We're looking to secure additional funding for 11 miles, 2,300 feet east of Inkster Road. That is an economic development fund. The state recognizes that getting the old Blue Cross Blue Shield building occupied, getting that 800,000 square feet is vital. We're also working on an economic development project with BSF in order to keep that stretch of road. The other piece on creative funding, we are looking at where we can dovetail water and sewer projects to take care of some of our local residential streets. I would encourage anyone to drive in the area of Catalpa, just west of Greenfield Road, and you will see when we went in and rebuilt that infrastructure, we made a remarkably difference in those residential streets. We're now working in Section 31, the John Graves. City Council approved a $6 million investment in that infrastructure, water and sewer. When we were done, by dovetailing those investments, the water and sewer funds will be able to help out, and those streets will be in much better shape than they are today. So I would argue we're being very creative, very frugal, and stretching every dollar as far as we can.
And Mark, for the sake of Lear, he said what I was going to say. Can I ask him for the record? Is the city paying Lear 5% interest on that capture tax deal? Yes or no?
Offhand, I don't know the exact interest rate. That could be correct. It is, the law permits the developer who paid and financed. And to any one of you in this room, if I said to you, if you came to us and said, we're going to clean up this contaminated property, we're going to acquire all these other sites, and you put out the money for 20, 30 years, would you not ask for some type of financial remuneration or interest? So we did get 5%, and we are, in an active, ongoing discussion about renegotiating that. 5% sounds a little high today, but when that deal was done in 2008, interest rates were much higher than 5%. I would argue that the time period that deal was done, City Council got a very good deal. For the record, I would recommend the Lear Day project again today because of what it means psychologically and job impact to this community and the region.
And the city is paying 5%, not Lear paying the city 5% for the collection.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Okay, my name is Barbara Talley, and I want to talk about warranties on projects, because I don't think that it's wise to go into a project, a road project, without a warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we find out, that here on the Greenfield, they said it would be prohibitive if they were to get a warranty. There is a bill in the state, 5460, House Bill 5460. Now, if that is...
You can hold the mic.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm talking about warranties on roads, okay? And I'm saying that there is a bill at the state level, 5460, that would make cities, MDOT and cities, have warranties on their roads. Now, if this is the case, what about all of these projects that you're talking about that are in the future? Would you be able to have those projects at the price that you would be contracting for with a warranty?
I'm going to take a stab at that and pass it on. For the record, I believe myself and most of our staff are in favor of that legislation. Warranties make sense to us. There would be an increased cost, which would be more, but I'd like Lee Schultz to speak about what we've done in our own contracts and when we accept a job, and then what we're doing at the batch plant, the production facility, what we've added to our contracts that's not in other contracts.
So the city projects that are not federal projects, all the federal projects go through an MDOT bid letting process. The city projects on local streets, we have always had a 2-year maintenance and guarantee, so basically a 2-year warranty on all of our local projects. For these federal projects, MDOT is heavy on the requirements with testing, and their point is they try and make sure that when this pavement goes down, when this infrastructure is installed, that all the testing is done ahead of time, so what goes in the ground is good. We're trying to be more proactive. When something like what happened on Greenfield, and Gary, you might be able to speak if you guys have figured out exactly what happened out there, but we're going to be taking the extra steps now this year to have inspectors in the plants where they're producing our asphalt and our concrete, depending on what type of job it is. And when it's an MDOT project, those plants are all certified, so so you're not supposed to have an inspector in there, but we're just trying to be proactive to see. It's like, are we really getting, a certain percent air content and the correct mix? And we're just going to be double checking to make sure. We did discuss MDOT does have an option for warranties. It's generally not done on these large projects because the amount that it drives up the cost is usually cost prohibitive, because things that might come up might be cracks that show up a little sooner than you expect to see. Cracks, the city has a very proactive crack filling program, and it's a very cheap thing for us to do. So if a crack develops, we can take care of it annually with our crack filling program, and that doesn't cost us a whole lot of money. That is cheaper for us in the long run than paying the extra dollars that it would be to warranty a project.
Thank you.
If I could. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Brenda Lawrence. I'm the mayor of Southfield. I hope you recognize our councilman, Myron Fraser, who's here.
We were all in.
We were all introduced, and our county commissioner, Nancy Quarles, is here. Ladies and gentlemen, as you said before, it's been said before, we have had these roundtables ever since I've been mayor. The objective is for you to have an opportunity to learn what's going on in the city, for me to hear from you. Oh, my county commissioner, Janet Jackson, I didn't see her today. And so, one thing I've been hearing repeatedly, Mayor, fix the roads, Mayor, fix the roads. What are you doing for the roads? And so I don't run away from the issue. It is, I drive over them as well. We have a standard here in Southfield that we expect. We pay our taxes and we have a certain standard we want. Our roads right now are not meeting that standard, and I acknowledge that. But you need to know, what are we doing about it? And I'm so glad so many of you turned out to hear what our plans are, because you can tell people, yes, we are going to fix Evergreen Road. Yes, we are going to fix Greenfield Road. But there's other things that you need to know. How do we repair them? And I thank the county so much for coming out, because the county has the roads in our community as well. So you're at the point, you've heard the presentation, you're asking your questions, and I just want to thank you again for being here. I think it was your hand.
Hi, my name's Gary Petrovic. Is this even working?
Yeah, you can talk it into it.
Okay. My name's Gary Petrovic. I'm the Deputy Managing Director at the Road Commission of Oakland County, and I thank Mayor Lawrence for inviting me to come here. This is obviously a topic that everybody everybody touches a road throughout a day, looks like in one way or another, and it's important to a lot of people. So anything we can share about what goes on and educate people, we always appreciate that opportunity. Talking about warranties and that issue there, we looked at our roads, and if we were to have warranties on our roads right now, 98% of those roads would be out of warranty. Okay, so even with warranties on roads, where would we be? And on top of that, you could probably say that's probably be 100% if we did warranties, because it costs us money to do warranties. It's not free. No contractor is going to give you a warranty and that they have to bond and pay for over 5 years to protect themselves for nothing. Nobody will. So we do at least mention we spend a tremendous amount of time up front trying to do quality control on what we put down. Are we perfect at every time? Absolutely not. I think everybody who's dealt with contractors on their house or anything they do, occasionally mistakes are made, and we admit that. But we try to minimize that, and try to maximize every dollar we can get and use that and try to do the best we can. The issue with any road we look at with warranties, the more you do of it, they got to pull, every contractor has to pull a bond. And there's only so much bonding companies are going to allow you to do before they say, yeah, that's enough. And then that contractor's done, which means there's one less contractor in the game, one less contractor able to bid on a project, which again increases cost. So this, while on the surface, warranty sounds like a great idea, at the end of the day, the bottom line is we don't have enough money to do what we're doing. And we can put warranties on these roads. Instead of doing 10 miles of road next year, I'll be doing 7. So take your pick. How do you want it? Do you want the 10 miles road done now, or do you want warranty for 5 years on a road that should last 15 to 20 anyways? It's going to go well beyond that anyway. So we have to be very careful about some of these items and what we ask for on those.
So we're at the point where we're asking questions, correct? Do we have questions?
Well, I mean, I don't understand, I guess, I'm just not into this. I do not understand why the city has to pay a contractor money to do his job well. I mean, that's ludicrous. Lasher Road was just fixed how long ago? You drive down that road now from 9 miles to 8 mile and your teeth fall out. And I'm just coming here too. I hit a big pothole on the Northwestern Service Drive, which is between Southfield and just Evergreen coming here. It's horrible. Now, they keep patching it and it keeps coming out. The weather's okay now. Why aren't the patches staying? Because you guys are telling us that the patches come out because the weather's changing. Well, it's not changing. The patches are still coming out. Why can we not make these contractors do their job right without having to pay them? I mean, you guys are saying, oh, we have to pay them, and if we don't, then there's no contractor to do the work.
We got it. So, that's the same question I've been asking myself. You told me the wintertime strength, fall.
Thermal dynamics.
Okay. So, now, what's happening?
Oh, I'm just going to take you back to the last 2 weeks. You've had a couple of weeks, we've had over 2 inches of rain. You've had at night, look at your temperature change. You've had still extreme temperatures. That cold patch is not the same. You go in, you throw a cold patch in a hole with water. It sits there, it gets compacted. It's not the permanent fix. You need a hot patch solution, which I'll turn to Justin to talk about the time involved in doing that. And, you know, we are working on that, but it's still the sheer volume of potholes that we have is greater than the resources we have. I mean, this problem is all about money. It's not about staff. I've got staff who are working 7 days a week, give far more overtime. I've got spouses calling about the amount. This comes down to one thing: money and time.
What about gas leaks? Don't you get money from gas leaks?
Yeah, and just for the record, let's talk about that. For the last 10 years, our Act 51 funds have dropped 10%. So, in your own car, has your mileage improved in the last 10 years? I mean, my first car, I got 8 miles to the gallon. I'm driving a car that's almost 32 miles to the gallon. So gasoline tax is part of it. If you look at the daily papers, this is the big debate going on in Lansing. You've got a Republican governor for the last 3 years who's asked for an additional $1.5 billion. And when you talk to them, That's just for the state fix. 1.5 billion will bring us another 4.5. We've got a $9 million a year problem. So this problem just didn't happen
We're
this
going to
year.
put money after that when the roads fall apart after not 6 months, they've been there and then you still can't drive. It's good money after that. Bad name.
I do want to say something for the record. So, it troubles me that I think every child is a child who's told that. You know, so how don't we take that stuff, see that building? I would think our technology has improved to the point that we would do a better job of catching up. One of the things we talked about is actually using one of those heated rollers instead of steam rollers. Yes. And investing in that in the city. And so instead of just throwing the coal patch down, actually finding ways that would last longer. That's something we talked about. That's something that the city administrator has in place to bring a report back on.
We figure conservatively, we put a good net in it with private contractors, we can do half the city.
Okay, but what if we bought our own equipment?
Then we
need the
still need.
personnel to run it.
Yes. You know, so we've got a learning curve, personnel to run it, is it the capital cost of doing it? And we're exploring that. Could we?
And see, what you're hearing and what the council and myself as a councilman said, okay, this is the challenge. And I don't know if our city administrators talked about it. One of the things on the table is a bond. I just came from another city who told me that they're putting a bond on the ballot. But we have to look at all of those alternatives. If we need training staff, what would that cost? Can we afford it? If we need the equipment, what does it cost? If we hire a contractor? But we have to fix the road. But understand all these dynamics that you're hearing, they're happening right now for us to figure out what is happening, and we're not the only city doing that.
Hello, my name is Willie Price, and I'm really here to talk about one particular road that I happen to live on, called Lincoln Drive, and the areas between Arrowhead and Southfield Road. They have a light on Southfield Road going back west. East, rather. I've been living there for 28 years, and this is the worst year ever in terms of potholes and concrete being knocked up. For the last 10 years, me and my wife get out in the springtime and have to literally rake concrete and stuff off our line, the one that's close to the curb. And this is the first year they actually damaged the line because of all of the concrete and the salt and stuff that was thrown up there. Now, I didn't hear the engineer say that was on the list for repair. And we happen to be on the borderline between Lathrop Village, which is right across the street, and Southfield. So I'm wondering, is there like a negotiation process that has to go on in order to have our road redone? Because it hasn't been redone, like I said, 28 years, and it gets worse every year. This is the worst year ever.
Any response?
Just wanted to mention that Lincoln Road is one of those roads that does not receive federal aid. So right now, a lot of our, trying to leverage money the best we can, a lot of our match money is going to projects where we receive federal aid. And Lincoln is not eligible for federal aid. There's a lot of neighborhood streets, which Lincoln, even though it's somewhat of a more major road than just a little side street, as far as funding goes, it's the same thing as a local street of Arrowhead as it is on Lincoln. So those neighborhoods, we had just presented to council after we did a water master plan that we have some neighborhoods that we're going to be targeting where we've got water main replacement. And now, these are not necessarily all going to be done in the next 2 years. It was really a start to get their approval to move forward with this approach. And we'll be budgeting, and I wanted to take a look to see if that happens to be in the area, because we've got, we identified about 12 different neighborhoods. That's not even, it's not even there. So in the meantime, pothole filling is basically just to keep the road safe. And sometimes if there's additional money, then sometimes there are spot repairs that might be going on in a specific neighborhood, but I haven't driven that particular stretch. Justin's more familiar with it. Justin's our streets and highway supervisor. He was asking me about Lincoln just last week. He's like, is that one of those areas? Is that one of those areas that's in such bad shape? I mean, we know it is. We don't have the money yet to do a proper fix.
Let me just add one thing. It's only the Southfield side that's messed up. Okay, the Lakeford side, the 2 lanes, because it's actually like a 3-lane deal, right? And the Southfield side is all messed up. The 2 lanes coming out on the Lakeford side are okay. So what you have is people that's going east getting to the center lane, and then the people coming back west are on the other side, and I'm afraid that somebody's going to run into each other because they're trying to avoid the Southfield side.
One thing I can tell you that, Justin, our staff will be out there for the potholes.
Thank you.
That I can guarantee you.
I've actually been out personally patching your road over the winter.
You know, and the problem they had there was there was so many rocks and gravel on the road. I tried to get the sweepers, because I called the street repair, right? Bring the sweepers out first, get the rocks out of the way, and then the holes, you can see the holes, you can patch it. Well, they didn't do that. They came out and patched over areas that had gravel in it. So, of course, that didn't take, right? And plus, they probably couldn't see a lot of the holes. So then they took a paper out that took some of the...
Would you allow us to, would you go back and look at that, Justin? So Justin will be back out there to look at that, okay? We have her and then we'll do you. Okay, thank you.
My name is Marie Kane. My concern is a lot of what he's saying. We seem to have, like he's saying, the Southfield side is messed up and the other side isn't. We're paying more taxes in this community than any other community in the state. I don't understand that. Okay, and what this man said right here about lost revenue, if you quit putting so much of a burden on the taxpayers that live here, maybe some people would move in here and you wouldn't have so many vacant houses. You have had a millage every year that I've lived in this city. Okay, the taxpayers, and there's a lot of people who live in apartments here, okay? They vote, but they don't pay taxes. I believe it's time to give the taxpayers a break. Maybe we need to prioritize more. Maybe we don't need to have lunchtime jazz over there in the park. I think we need to do some prioritizing and give the taxpayers in Southfield a break.
Now, I will like to comment that the jazz over in the park is paid for by donors. The building owners over there pay for that.
There must be something,
But
Mayor Lawrence, that we could do to prioritize.
I hear you. And the other part of that is that this winter has exposed our roads in every other city in a condition that we have never had. And so your passion, our frustration, we've got to fix it, but we've got to find a way. And I hear what you're saying about it's a priority. We got it.
The last time we were in the same room together, we were in a soup line in Pontiac for the mayoral. To one another. Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael McFarland, and ever since I purchased a condo and made the city of Southfield...
They can't hear you. They said speak in the microphone. I think the volume needs to be turned up.
Yeah.
Well, that's for cable. It's not really...
Oh, okay. Again, my name is Michael McFarland. And ever since having purchased a condo and made the city of Southfield here in Oakland County my home only 4 years ago, I've been a pretty happy camper. Correction, I've been an extremely happy camper. That is in regard only to the overall friendliness, cleanliness, landscaping, lighting, snow removal, utilities, taxes, administrative, police, fire, public works departments, courteous customer service, as well as almost all other city and county services, except, of course, for that of the maintenance, repair, and replacement of our roadways. Truly, I ask, what more must be said by any of us here about the infamous potholes which spoil everyone's Southfield experience, residents and visitors alike? More than just a shameful embarrassment, this is an emergency situation which needs to be fixed right here, right now, by whatever means necessary. I, for one, am already aware of the grid of responsibility between the city of Southfield and Oakland County for our arterial roads. In effect, with the exception of Evergreen Road, all such north-south arterial roads belong to the county, from our western boundary of Inkster Road to our eastern boundary of Greenfield Road. As well, between our southern and northern boundaries of 8 Mile Road up to 12 or 13 Mile Road. I believe that the county is responsible for the even-numbered mile roads and the city is responsible for the odd-numbered mile roads, or is it the reverse? I'm not sure. Go figure. I also have here a map showing proposed and/or a planned upcoming road projects within the 30 square miles of our city spanning years 2014 through 2017. Fully aware of the road replacement project scheduled throughout the entire summer and fall months of this year for the southbound lanes of Greenfield Road, from 9 Mile down to 8 Mile Road, I have a major concern for a particular little Southfield Road, which is clearly about to be dumped upon by the massive detoured vehicular traffic, including trucks, buses, emergency vehicles, and even 18-wheelers from the Greenfield Road project. It's called Providence Drive. She's a winding, rather serpentine little neighborhood boulevard, which has begged for years to be replaced, receiving only patchwork shovels of asphalt lasting for only a few days at a time. My one rather personal little vehicle, along with those of thousands of other neighbors along its 1 mile stretch from the Kroger supermarket connecting to North Park Drive behind Providence Hospital onto the southbound Lodge Service Drive around Northland Center, has been ravaged, my vehicle particularly, by the most damnable of unavoidable potholes. While the county is responsible for the Greenfield Road project, Providence and North Park Drive are clearly the responsibility of the city of Southfield. We need to have anticipated this dangerous situation a long time ago and replaced the concrete pavement before the Greenfield Road project began. Nonetheless, and with time against us, I seek some kind of commitment from this administration, 1, 2, and 3. 1, to be more exponentially diligent in patching and steamrolling these drives for the duration of the Greenfield Road project. 2, to develop plans to repair said drives by this time next year. And 3, to include some measure, as we've already spoken, of warranty with contractors for said work, unlike is the case with the Oakland County on the Greenfield Road project. Thank you.
These will be, it's 10 minutes to 8, so if you can be brief, because we made a commitment to be out at 8, so we will go as long as we need to, but if you can be brief.
I'm Liz Bonyi. I live on Winchester, which is a street that's connecting Lhasa and Evergreen with 2 traffic lights in both ends. The issue I'm going to mention, I mentioned to a road commissioner at the previous meeting, and he replied, that is not our problem, that's an enforcement problem. Now tonight I'm hearing all this money, major roads. What, as several of the residents have brought up, Edwards and all these other roads, anyway, what about the residential roads? We don't have any money to fund us. This part of my subdivision rivals what's in front of City Hall on Berkshire, but that's not the point. I think there's some solution, and maybe the road commissioner had a right idea, as I talked about the meeting. There are other solutions besides money. We could somehow change traffic patterns. That might help. I have all manner of commercial vehicles that go past my house to the point I can't get out of my house. Winchester Island, a long residential island that goes 5 houses in, has been turned into a roundabout. I have had huge vehicles use my driveway as a backup to go back out. I've had to spend more money putting it together. Maybe, just maybe, we could put up some signs that said, no U-turn please here, no commercial vehicles, no through trucks. I drive on Eaton in Birmingham. They have a no through truck thing, and it's heavily enforced. Now, I do know that Chief Hawkins told me we are going to have more officers. There are 5 cadets that are now still going to be very young, enthusiastic traffic enforcement. Maybe that will be some of the things. I'm going to be brief. That's it. There's more, but that's it.
I do want to say that when we talk about the roads and the residential, I want you to remember what we just went through with this financial crisis. And in the city of Southfield, we have a lot to be proud of, because during that time, we had to reduce our workforce by 25%, and we did not lay off a single employee. We have continued our police response under 5 minutes. We have done a lot with less. One of the things that we've seen are our roads, and we were hanging on by a shoestring. It's a good thing we saved money, because not only was it a rainy day fund, it was storm. As I say, the roosters or whatever have come home to roost. It is time that we have to develop a plan, but our objective today is for us to hear you, for you to hear where we are, the challenges that's on the plate of our city administrator, the directives that his staff is working massive hours, and that we've got to do something more. It's a state issue. We need more money. I'm sorry we keep saying that. Our residential streets, I know that street. You know, I live in your subdivision.
You drive by my house?
Yes, every day. So I hear you.
Harvey Dunker, I'm president of Family Village Homeowners Association, one of the larger ones in the city. And we're used to the potholes and the cracks in our streets. And we realize that it will take time for the patching crew to come by and fill it. The Basha Road is an MDOT road, correct? The county road. You did a great job from 12 to Northwestern. When are you going to finish the other side of Northwestern to Civic Center Drive? That's worse than what the original road was.
Did you understand?
Right now, the Federal Aid Committee has allowed us to do some lots. We've been able to get funding for lots of road that's on the northern sections from 13 Mile up. We submitted for the other sections you're talking about, but they have not scored high enough at this point. So right now, they are not on our list right now. Sorry.
I believe I said earlier, that section of the road is part of, it has been discussed with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and MDOT as a possible project. As we look, as Federal Mogul relocates, we're looking at what will happen with that building, and there is a European entity looking at the building, and as part of that building being reoccupied, our position will be to secure these economic development dollars. And folks, if the company comes in, that's a real good probability. And I spoke to the competitive nature of the county only having $17 million annually to work with. It's just not enough money. I'm sorry, folks, that I don't want to hear that, but that's the reality of the situation.
And I want you to know that we are using the pitch of economic development. If any of you drive down 11 Mile Road toward Washington, Inkster Road, 11 Mile by Inkster Road, in front of the old Blue Cross Blue Shield building, that road is just deteriorated as we have spoken. And we're going to use the economic development aid to get MDOT and to get the county to give us some funds to fix that road. But we're using every angle we have.
My name is Leon James, and I'm a resident of Southfield for the last 41 years. And I have a question and a concern about 10 Mile Road. 10 Mile Road, particularly from Southfield Road and Greenfield Road, is horrible. It is horrible. And from Evergreen through a telegraph is smooth as silk. So I would like to know what's the difference between the two. And I also have a comment about the lowest tax base. One of the gentlemen said that we had a lowest tax base of approximately 40%. And I'm sure Detroit probably have that exceeds that. And the potholes in the Southfield is much deplorable than the ones in Detroit.
Yes, they are.
Witness.
We have some bad sections, but I would tell you overall the city of Southfield is not the same.
Well,
But you can talk about 10 Mile Road, right?
10 miles, you mentioned the difference between those is primarily age. One's a lot more recent than the other. But we will, again, there are roads that we certainly identified as needing help, and again, we look to the federal aid to do those types of projects for those roads, and they are on our list, they've been submitted, they're just not, as mentioned by, it just isn't enough money to spread around. We want to keep going back and beating it drum, but that's what happens at the end of the day. What we will be, later this year, we will be out at the intersection of 10 and Southfield doing concrete slab repair and trying to get that intersection at least into a better condition, given the amount of volume in the intersection. So we will be doing some work in that immediate vicinity, the Southfield Road, to get some, at least get that road up to certainly better viability than it is right now.
just one brief moment now. I'm speaking from my neighborhood.
Yes.
And we strongly feel that zip code 4087 has been put on the back burner.
4037. What's your?
5.
75.
75.
Okay.
That's what it's at.
So what subdivision are you in?
Oh, I can't remember. But I live on Southwood Drive, between Lincoln Drive and 10 Mile Road. 4075, that's not it.
Okay.
And we feel like that particular section is being put on the back burner. We're not giving the service that we was getting. I know no part of the city is getting the service it was 20 years ago. But ours was really downgraded compared to the other zip code, because I am, like I said, 41 years in this business, and I have friends in different zip codes, and we are not comparable. I'd like for someone to take a look at it.
And I'd like to talk to you about that, because when we talk about what types of services, because that's unacceptable, because the entire city should be treated the same way. Let's sit down and talk about it. I wanted to ask my Councilman Frazier if you wanted to say anything. Okay.
I'm happy now.
Yes, yeah. And this will be the last question, and we'll wrap up.
Okay, thank you. I did speak before, but I'm going back to these warranties. When we talk about warranties on the state level that they're going to impose upon the cities and villages, what will you be able to do? Number 2 is the legislation. What does the city do to move legislation on the state level to receive monies for your roads? I understand that there is a difference between Republicans and Democrats, and that the roads and the money that comes from the roads goes to the roads. It's political. So I'm asking you, what does the city do through its legislators to do that? And the third one is Providence Drive. I had a survey, and we're in the SBDA area, and the survey that we did showed that we're not getting the proper respect. I would say respect. They're on Providence Drive, where we have 6% of the residents in Southfield that live there, all those apartments. And from this poll, that Providence Drive over the winter time was not, the service was not done properly. So I have about 4 things.
So when you say service, you mean the plowing of the streets or
The potholes, the potholes.
Providence Drive does not get federal aid, correct? So it's one of those that the entire funding of that has to come out of our budget. That's something that we're going to have to address, because our residential streets, those streets that are not qualified for it, they're not county, they're our roads, and like I keep saying this, I'm not trying to blow smoke, but the reality is that we were trying to keep the city running, and the investment in roads or the money for the roads weren't even there. And so now we're in the reality of that. This is our last question.
I was cut off earlier, so I'm hoping that I can make my point, and I just wanted to alert the residents in here. You guys remember the St. Bede's project up the street on 12 Mile and Southfield Road. The developer at the time, when he purchased that property, he said that he was not going to be asking for any tax incentives, even though Donald Fracassi is on record telling him to ask for a brownfield.
If I may.
Okay, the reason why I'm bringing that up about...
When we have these roundtables, we stay on the issue of the roundtable, and that's about the road construction.
Okay.
Thank you.
When the city said that other municipalities had asked for a larger millage, if you remember, the millage that was passed in Southfield was for 4.9183, and that was a public safety millage. The city said on record, don't take my word, go to the minutes on demand, that they would not be using that money for anything else. The city is going to enter into a creative agreement, I'm going to call it, by giving this developer those millage dollars that's supposed to be going for the roads, the library, police, and fire as a deal. Now, you guys should really get involved. If we can give tax abatements and brownfields for businesses coming here, those businesses should in turn be able to give the residents something like Ms. Kane said and finance some of these projects. I'm going to just say that the city could have and should be doing a lot better on creative financing for the roads. You should not be coming back to the residents asking for either 2.5, 3.5, or a bond, like Ms. Kane alluded to fix the roads. So even though you're telling people now 75 cents a cup of coffee, when the property values go back up, all of those villages that you're adding on, that's going to add up too, and it's going to mean more money.
If you can get somebody to move over here.
Well, I must say that your property values have gone up, and there's actually bidding wars. And I know in my subdivision, every house that has been bought, there's been a trailer put in the driveway, and people are rehabbing the homes. Our tax records are showing that our property values are going up. They're showing that the number of vacant bank-owned properties have gone down. So I would say the data is showing that the city is rebounding, and it is getting better. So I'm optimistic. I do know that we must take care of these roads, and I'm with you on that. But the picture in Southfield right now is one that is regaining momentum, and that we have more businesses moving in. Understand, every time a business moved out, it affected our taxes that we collected. Now that when people move into the homes and they're fixing them up, the tax values are going up. So we're on the right track, and we're going in the right direction. I want to thank you. You're the last time.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to finish up before we left here, and I think these conversations are real important, as I mentioned. And I wish we had a lot more time, because I think there's so much to be said in this topic that everybody needs to know about. This is a much more difficult industry than you can imagine, and the more we all understand it, the better we are. But there's one thing I want to leave everybody with, and when we keep beating that drum of money, and I know, trust me, I pay taxes, I'm on the same boat, I always wonder where every dollar's going. But the bottom line is, the last 50 years in the state of Michigan, we have been in the bottom 10 states in funding roads. That's statistically accurate facts. Bottom 10 states for 50 years. It hasn't been 5, it hasn't been 10, it hasn't been, it's 50 years being in the top 10, bottom 10. You go around other states, states, everybody say, why are other roads better? They spend more money, okay? The states around us are spending 2 to 3 to 4 times as much money per mile than we are here. At the end of the day, nobody's got a secret to roads. We all build roads, we all have contractors, we use same materials. It's all there. There's no secret. Nobody's out there building a road and says, hey, I can build a road for half the cost that lasts twice as long. It doesn't exist. We all are doing the same thing. At the end of the day, it's money. And Michigan's made a priority to spend their money in other places. The result is what we have out there right now. And we have to get to our legislators and decide that, hey, roads are important to us, to make it a priority. And the state, right now, the state controls most of those strings right now. And we need to talk to them. We all need to make sure everybody understands that in order to make this go away, the condition we're in, and it's not going to change overnight. It's 50 years getting to where we are now. Even with money, it's not going to be better tomorrow. It's going to take time. So please, please, just remember that when you leave here, what we're spending on roads is so pitifully awful compared to other states that if we had the same money as other states, your roads would be in good shape, and I make that promise to you.
Our county commissioners, any comments? No, I'm good with what you're okay.
Final comment, just related to that. I have brochures up here called Michigan's Road Funding Dilemma that really answers a lot of questions that we get and really gets into the details of how we're funded and where we get money and what our costs are of doing roads. And I'm going to leave a packet of these up here, and certainly it's on our website. And if you call the road commission, you can always get more of these sent out. This is a real good educational tool we've used to open a lot of eyes out there about what we're doing and how we're funding roads here in Michigan. Thank you, Mayor.
Today, you may not have gotten the answer that you want, but one thing I want you to take away from this, in the city of Southfield, you're invited to the table. You're engaged in the conversation. We care enough about you to give you the honest truth that we are actually aware of this situation. We're trying. I'll give you an example, Civic Center Drive. Instead of totally reconstructing that because we didn't have enough money, we just gave it a surface cap is what it's called. That will not last more than maybe 5 more years. And then we'll have to go back and redo it. Evergreen Road should last longer because it's a total reconstruction. We're actually going to tear it up to the dirt and rebuild it, put new sewers in. Another thing you need to understand, why are these roads so expensive? Our infrastructure, many of you don't worry about this. You just flush your toilet and turn the water on. Well, there's a team of people who stay up awake at night, and I'm one of them as an elected official, because our infrastructure underground, under our roads, the pipes for sewer and water, we've got some issues. And so when we take advantage of that, as you saw that our Lee Schwartz said, that what we do, we find where we can do a 2-for-1. We can repair some major infrastructure underground and repair the road at the same time. So we do have challenges. But hold on. We're going to fix those potholes. We're going to visit Lincoln Drive. You and I are going to have a conversation about services. We got to get an answer to Providence Drive. I keep bringing that up as well. We've got to find a solution for Providence Drive. And the rest of you in this room, because we do have a standard in Southfield and we have to fix our roads. I want to thank the city staff who came out tonight. I want to thank my acting city administrator. I want to thank Oakland County for showing up. So I want to thank everyone for coming out, because this means a lot. We're a city that don't just say, oh, we don't care. We are engaged in our government, and tonight is a good example of that. God bless you, drive safely home, and remember to click it or get ticketed.